Today we're dipping down into the depths of Planet Zebes to hunt and retrieve some of the coolest and most classic glitches in Super Metroid. We've got the game with everyone's favorite bounty hunter that takes orders from absolutely no one, do not remind me. Super Metroid is actually super popular in the speedrunning community, with a long history surrounding it. This game is even pretty consistently run during the game's done quick marathons every year. Hashtag save the animals, that is all. With a powerful combination of both skill glitches and the skill to pull off set of glitches, there's even a few runners who are able to blaze through the game in under the 13-minute mark. It's kinda insane. And just a heads up as we get into the video, an important thing to know is that this game allows for custom controls, and we're using default controls, so keep that in mind if you customize. Well, if we want to see what all this hubbub is about, let's roll right into these glitches. We'll start off our glitch expedition deep down in the dark depths of outside. Right now, we're going to learn something called the Mockball. Before we get into it though, I'll have to teach you a few things. This game has a cool power-up where Samus can crawl into a morph ball and roll around. She can even get into said morph ball while in midair, and when she hits the ground, she does a slight bounce. But with proper timing, if Samus rolls into a ball right before she touches the ground, she won't bounce. That fact is very important to the Mockball trick. In a morph ball, Samus can roll around, albeit very slowly, but there is a way to start rolling around at the speed of slightly faster. If Samus runs at full speed, jumps, and lands into a morph ball without bouncing, she will retain her running speed. That may have been a bit hard to understand, so let's go through it again, but with an input camera. To recap, run at full speed and jump. Hit down the D-pad, and as Samus gets close to the ground, hit down again. Just keep holding the D-pad in the direction you were before, and she'll speed along just fine. In addition, you can keep the speed from the speed booster, so now you can finally give a certain blue rodent a run for his rings. I'll be giving this trick a difficulty rating of mild. This glitch actually does have a good amount of uses, ranging from getting Ice Beam earlier in Norfair to this more notable use in Brinstar. Once you enter Brinstar, enter the first door on the right. You'll be in an area that looks about like this. Normally, you can run across the blocks, but the door blocks Samus because she's too tall. You can't roll normally either because the morph ball is too slow. The actual way to get past is using the speed booster, but our Samus doesn't roll that way. So run over and do the mock ball and you should be able to cruise on through. To the right is a reserve tank and some normal missiles, but shooting the ceiling here lets you get the super missiles, skipping the Spore spawn boss to get the super missiles way earlier than intended. But that's not the only way to skip Spore spawn. This method of skipping Spore spawn requires that you have the super missiles already, so it's kinda useless unless you want more super missiles. What you need to do is open up this passage with the bombs. Come on, just get in there. Line up Samus with this little squiggly thing on the ground, jump, and then shoot a super missile. And when you go back to block over, it should be gone. Now, while I'll be giving this trick a difficulty rating of cool, there's still one more way to get through this tunnel. Now we've got the Crystal Flash method. Just get into the same passage as before. Please, come on, just instead of blowing it up with the super missile like before, if you can, do the Crystal Flash technique. By the way, to actually do the Crystal Flash, you need to have less than 50 energy, empty reserve tanks, at least 10 missiles, at least 10 super missiles, and at least 11 power bombs. Then hold down L and R and shoot. After that bizarre little display, shoot a super missile at the block and now you're through. Cool. This next trick has a ton of uses, so get your learning hats back on. Starting off, you'll need to make sure that you have the speed booster. If you don't know, this item allows you to charge a Shinespark by holding down the dash button and running over an extended distance. Internally, this activates when a hidden counter reaches a value of 4 while running. This counter only increases when 2 conditions are met. You must be holding down the dash button, and Samus must be on this frame of running. What you would do normally is hold down the dash button and run until the speed booster charges up, and it typically takes about this distance. But one way you can charge up quickly is by holding a direction first, and tapping the dash button only when Samus is on the magic frame. This method will lower the distance needed to charge by a good amount, as you can see, which will be very useful to exploit in certain places. For example, outside the wrecked ship, you can use this trick to cross the water without using the grappling hook. Destroy the enemies and open the door on the right beforehand. Stand on the left side of the room and then charge up the speed booster. When it comes to timing, the press of the down button for the Shinespark. A good landmark to use is when Samus reaches the end of this second hill thing. Once you've charged it up, spin jump up the steps and let her rip through the door. Unfortunately, that was the easy part. Once you go through the door, you have to do another short charge in this really small area. But once you do that, you can get into the wrecked ship. After it's all done though, this trick gets a spicy difficulty rating. Here's a really simple glitch for you to do now that you're in the wrecked ship. Towards the top, there's some destroyable blocks that can be destroyed. Try to make it so Samus can just barely fit in the top half of the blocks. Now just jump the little gap while holding the R button and mash the jump button just as Samus lands. If you did it right, Samus should just pop right through the ceiling. A more useful application of this bug can get you to the spring ball item earlier than intended. You'll need to go to Meridia with the Ice Beam and just get over to this room here. Freeze the squishy enemy in this exact position and then you can jump through just like before. The Murder Beam of Death. This glitch is what you see when you look up broken in the dictionary. Starting off, you'll need to make sure that you obtained all the beams. Hop into the menu and switch over to the Samus section. Make sure the charge, ice, wave, and spacer beams are all selected. Move the cursor over something on the boot section, and then press left and A simultaneously. If you did it right, both plasma and spacer should be selected, and a strange little VAR seems to tag along too. Now you have the murder beam. When you shoot with it, strange things can happen. Wait for it. Just kidding, the game's frozen. Shooting an uncharged shot makes this happen. You have to activate the glitch while you're both facing left and a charge is going. Alternatively, if you have the X-ray scope, activate it and then hold down the X button. After you deactivate it, you should be able to charge with no problem. Now what to do with the murder beam? Murder bosses, of course. The glitched beam creates an invisible pillar where it's shot, so anything that touches it gets destroyed. This is very useful in certain boss fights like Mother Brain, Ridley, or the Gold Chorizo. Some of those bosses have weird quirks that happen when you use the murder beam on them, like with Ridley, where the hitbox of the beam will attach to his tail. It's really useful against him, but it's even more useful against the Gold Chorizo. Put it in just the right spot and the boss kind of becomes a joke. And then, when he dies, he gets a little glitchy. This glitch gets a cool rating, but we're not even done here. There are a few more magical beams to work with, so don't leave just yet, please. If you deactivate the wave beam, the glitch gets even weirder. The murder beam is now the Spacetime Beam, and with it you can blast through the very fabric of space-time itself. Simply shooting an uncharged shot activates the glitch. A crucial thing to know is that firing a charged shot will crash the game, so be careful. When the glitch activates, the entire heads-up display is replaced with orange ones. A curious side effect of this glitch includes a complete reset of the entire game world. Samus keeps her items, but she can fight bosses and get items again that she isn't supposed to. You can actually use this to have more energy tanks and missiles than you're allowed. It's also important that you do not save the game while this game is glitched. If you return to a glitched save file, you'll start back at the beginning of the game and it's nearly impossible to leave the intro stage. It's certainly weird, but let's look at a way to use this glitch that's less weird and more devastatingly powerful. Normally, after defeating the boss Draygon, you get the plasma beam. Because it's unlocked after the boss, this means that it's impossible to use it during said boss fight. But impossible things get a little more possible when we bend the rules of space-time. If you go to this room, that's a couple screens left of the boss room, open the door to the right like so, fire off the Spacetime Beam, and drift your way back to that entrance, you'll be in a space-time mode of sorts. Just keep jumping over to the right using space jump, and at some point you may transition to the room over. From there, just navigate over to the Draygon boss fight as normal. Before you start the fight, disable the Spacetime Beam and enable a plasma beam, and also be switched to the X-ray scope. When Draygon appears, shoot a charged plasma beam at him, and as it passes through him, mash the dash button to activate and deactivate the X-ray scope. After a couple mashes, Draygon will succumb to radiation poisoning. Should've worn a lead shield, bud. The chainsaw beam does absolutely nothing, but it's still worth showing off. Instead of deactivating the wave beam, deactivate the charge and ice beams. The only thing this glitch can do is open doors and fake blocks right in front of Samus. It can't hurt enemies either, so it really is useless. Both this and the Spacetime Beam get a difficulty rating of cool. And now for the most intriguing bug of them all, the blue suit glitch. In the boss fight for Draygon, there's a large amount of space in the arena. By doing a short charge, you can just barely manage to charge up the speed booster. If you Shinespark into Draygon's head for the final hit, Samus gets a little blue. That's because when Draygon dies, it doesn't reset the variable that determines whether or not Samus is blue. While in this blue state, Samus can instantly charge up another Shinespark just by crouching. This is mainly used in speedruns across this area outside the boss room, using the Shinespark instead of space jumping. The only drawback to this glitch is that it's easily lost by pressing the dash button, so watch out for that. This is certainly not an easy glitch, so I'll be rating this one with a difficulty of spicy. Going back to more simple glitches, here's one involving the beam shields. In Super Metroid, if one beam and the charge beam are both selected in the menu and the power bombs are selected, a full charge produces 1 of 4 shields at the expense of a power bomb. Each shield has a distinct look, so here's each of them so you can get an idea of what they look like. Here's the ice shield, and the wave shield, then the spacer shield, and finally plasma shield. During the time that they're active, if you switch to the active beam in the menu, things start to look a little different. The sprites change to the current beam, so some of the combos can look pretty wacky. But remember the murder beam? You can use it here too. Things are definitely not right with the ice shield here. But that's all there really is with the beam shield glitch, leaving it with a cool difficulty. Heading down to Lower Norfair, we've got a cool glitch involving the mini-boss Crocomire. Crocomire is an interesting boss in regards to this programming. He's essentially a giant moving wall, with legs. This can open up the door to some funny looking stuff. After you beat Crocomire for the first time and get the grappling hook, go back to the room above and open this door, but don't go in. Charge up the Spacetime Beam on the stair facing the right, but don't release the shoot button. and instead switch to super missiles. Shoot one and then head down the door. You're not supposed to have grappling hook here, but since we reset the game, we can. To do the glitch, just use the grappling hook on him. Take care, however, Samus does still take damage from the boss. Samus can also get stuck in the boss's legs, which can really eat up your health. But that's about it. It's another cool one. That may be it to the end of the glitches, but there is still more stuff going on my Twitch. In fact, I may be even live streaming right now, so join. Come on, let's have some fun, come on. If you also like the video, give it a like, and if you enjoy my content, be sure to subscribe, ring the bell as well. That's it from me though. If I don't already see you on the stream, have a great day, and don't forget to stay golden.